If you don't have any idea already, we'll try to discuss about all those things. So we'll see what Python is, where it can be used, and more specifically, we'll be talking about Python in relation to data science topics, data analysis, data science, machine learning, so that you can use it for those purposes. Now, Python is very famous in many domains. So there is a lot of things to be studied in Python, but we will do most of things that can be done in data science. Now, the first thing we need to start is to set up the environment. For any programming language, we need to set up the environment where we are going to write our code. So those environment there can be multiple environments you can use. You might have some like Visual Studio Code is going to be the famous one common one that many people use. Apart from that, I'm going to tell you about one of the packages, one of these environment that is very easy, that will help you write your code very properly when talking about data analysis and data science, and also with the general Python programming. So first, I'll try to show you that where you can download it, where you can install, and how those things are done. Yes, all of the sessions will be recorded and it will be shared with you. We'll be taking your email IDs and we'll enroll you into the LMS. We have an LMS. There you'll find all the videos and all this code files so that you can practice later after the session also. But I suggest you that you wait till all the sessions. You must attend all the sessions so you can ask me question directly if you have some doubt regarding. Okay, right. And for those of you who are joining most of the sessions of ours, this 20-hour session, we will have some extra things planned for you. We'll try to discuss more topics like this in the future. Okay, very soon after this session ends. Okay, so let's get started. And for those of you who have your systems open, you can search for this. If you don't have, you can note it down somewhere and later you can try. So first is you need to search Anaconda install or Anaconda distribution. Just search for it on Google. Okay, so Taira, you can personally message me that email address and I'll try to enroll. This is our LMS and we have one section created for that where you will find your videos and all the files, all these things, all the questions and practice problems. You'll find it here that you can do regarding this Python. Okay, so you can message me privately. Right. Now we will discuss about those things and at the end of the session, let's just start. So now everyone, I think you can search for this, whoever is searching. You have this Anaconda install. Anaconda distribution is one of the packages. It's one of the softwares that we are going to use for our practice purpose of the Python. Now, many of you might not have seen or heard about this because this is specific to the data science domain. It's the most popular software or package, you can say, in the field of data science, the top one that is given preference. Why it is so much better, why it is so famous, and why we are talking about this, we will understand them one by one. But first go to this and you will see a first link that will be Anaconda distribution. You can just click on it, Anaconda distribution. Once you open the link, you'll find an option to download the video, download this software. And you will have to see that it is written Anaconda distribution, and here will be a link to download it. So I'll share this link with you. You click on download and you have your operating system options, whichever you want to download, you can click on that. This one is default for Windows. For Windows, you can download directly. Okay, for those of you who joined just now, we were talking about installation of the environment where we are going to write our Python code that we are going to do in next 20 hours. So for that purpose, we are going to install this package in which we will write our Python code. You can use VS Code also or any other environment that you have. But installing this Anaconda will help you if you want to learn more about this data science or data analysis thing. And link I have shared, I'll share once again the link of this. For those of you who joined just now, go to this link and you have to click on this download button and you have to download this software. Once you download, it's just the normal installation process that you can follow. So you can do in the background, but I will explain you for today. If you have to write the code along with me, if you want to write that, you can go to one of the other softwares that is on the internet. You can use that for today. And for that, you need to search Google Colab. Just search for Google Colab. So in Google Colab, you will see the first link, welcome to Collaboratory. Just click on this first link. Okay. So when you click on this Collaboratory, I think everyone is able to follow. The first link, just welcome to Collaboratory. It is one of the environment very similar to ours that we will follow for all the tasks that we will need to do in programming. So once you click on that link, something like this will open up. And when you come here, you just need to click on new notebook. First, search Google Colab on Google. You'll see the first link, click on that. You'll come up here. You must see something like this and you have to click on new notebook. Anyone has any doubt or some problem, you can let me know anytime. Once you click on new notebook, you will see something opening up. It will open up a file for you. So this file is actually a place where you can write your code and later you can download this code to keep on your local system. It is actually in the internet. It is on the Google server. So Google has given you some resources on which you can write your code. You can do anything what you want, whatever code you need to write. You can write everything and later you can download it and open up in your local systems later anytime. So for today, you can follow this till the time you are installing that package Anaconda. Later, we'll try to do that in an Anaconda itself. So this is our Google Colab. I hope everyone would have found this. Any issues, anyone? Okay, no issues, then it's okay. So if you install the Anaconda, when you have done the installation of the Anaconda, where to find it? You need to go to this, your start menu, and you will see all the applications and you will see a folder called Anaconda 3. This will be the folder. If you click on it, you will see multiple options will open up. And in this multiple options, there is a Jupyter notebook. You need to search for this Jupyter notebook and click on it. Once you click on this, where you have to go into menu in Anaconda 3 folder and this Jupyter notebook. Once you come to this Jupyter notebook, you click on it. The next thing what will happen is it will open up a server. A server in your local system like this, it will open up. So after opening up a server like this, what will happen? It will open this web, this location in your web browser. Correct? This location will open up. Not this exactly, actually this local host, this colon, and 48/3. This will be your address that will open up after opening Jupyter Notebook. So now what is happening here? What is this web page actually going to do is, if you know or if you don't know, in Python there are multiple packages. There are something called as libraries or packages. You might have heard about that also. So these packages are going to help us write very less amount of code to do our task in data science or data analysis or machine learning. There are multiple packages for that. So this Jupyter Notebook actually combines all those packages and give you in a folder, in one directory. It gives you everything, a collection of all the packages. Once you have the collection of all the packages, you can use them and you can do the task. You don't need to download them later from the internet. Separately, you don't need to download them. It will come bundled when you install Jupyter Notebook there. So this is something that will open up. And this is a local host opening up in your system. And how it is opening up with this Jupyter Notebook server. What we need to do now. So once we have installed Anaconda, with Anaconda, Python is also installed by default. So separately, we don't need to install. But anyway, I would recommend you to install Python also for some of the tasks. So how to install Python? You can search download Python. And you come to the first link, normal. Yeah. So if you just come to its website, you will see an option to download Python. You can, it would be better if you download this, but if there are no resources in your system, if you are falling short of space or something, then you can skip this. And Anaconda has that bundled already, the Python package. But if you want to install it, you can come to this location and you can install Python and you can download it from here. Now, these are the things about setting up the environment. Setting up environment is very important. And the next one I was talking about is something called as Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is a very famous one that supports multiple languages, Java, C, C++, all of that you can write in Visual Studio Code. You can prefer that also, but I would say that you install this Jupyter Notebook, because we'll try to see many things later which cannot be done on those packages, which will be better done on Anaconda or Jupyter. So now, once we have come to this place, what can we do with this? How that code file looks like where we need to write the code. So for that purpose, you have to come here and you need to click on Python 3. So for today, just watch what I'm trying to show you. Later, you can write it. You can see and follow all the steps. So you need to click on here and click on Python 3. Once you click on Python 3, something will open up. A file will open up where you can write your code. So now this thing that you're seeing here is called Jupyter Notebook. Notebook. Why it is called notebook? Because you can write everything just exactly like a notebook. If you have a physical notebook with yourself, you write the text, you write the code, you write, this decorate something with different colors. Whatever things are there, you can perform that, which is not possible in any other environment, any other software that you might use. Let me show you how those things are going to work. So first, I'll just show you some basics of it today. More about it, I'll explain tomorrow once you have installed that. Let me show some basic things what you can do. This is called Jupyter Notebook. So first thing, you can give a name to this notebook. What are you trying to do? So we are trying to understand Python basics. And I click on rename, it has renamed it. So now this is a file by the name Python basics, and I can search it where? In my home, where it will open up. So at this address, localhost 48/3, this is the place where I will find this file, Python basics. So now I have given it a name. We'll start to understand what are the things we can write. So in this whole notebook file, we can write text. We can decorate the text. We can put images. We can put URLs. You can put code file, code, whatever things are there, all of the things you can combine it here, just like a physical notebook. So that way, what will happen, whatever you are studying, if you are studying about any topic or any machine learning algorithm, you have made a project related to project, there is an image you want to attach here. You can attach that very properly so that it is easy for you to follow or anyone you share this code with. So now let's start and try to see how those things can be done. So we are talking about Python. What we can do now, this thing that you're seeing is called a cell. This line that you're noticing is called a cell. In this cell, you can write either code or you can write your text or you can paste the images. So when I have selected this, you might notice here it is written code. If I want to write code, I will just write my code. Let me show you the first very basic code in Python where you can print. This is the first thing that everyone does with any programming language. The first thing. Now, this is very easy to write code in Python. You can say that this is what you just need to do. If you talk about any other languages like Java, C, C++, there is a boilerplate. You need to write some extra things before writing this normal statement. But in Python, you don't need to include anything extra. Whatever you want to do, just write the code for that, just write the instruction for that. It will do the task for you. So just to give you an idea, what if you just want to write the same thing in C++ language or C, you need to do this. You will be hash include. You'll have this hash include statement, 2 hash include statements or 3 hash include statement you will have. After this include statements, you have this int main. And after this, you write something. And here you will be writing printf and something. Whatever message you want to give, hello world. This much you need to write if you are writing in C programming language. But nothing as such you need to do if you're writing in Python. Just write your statement, whatever you want to perform, just write that straightforward, things will be done. So for beginners specifically, it is very easy to learn Python programming language because it's very straightforward. You don't need to remember anything extra and you will be making lesser mistakes because it is very straightforward. So we have just now written our first code. What we need to do now, I have written a code and anytime I have to make any new cell where I will write something, you can click on this plus button. If you click on this plus button, it will create more and more cells for you where you can keep writing the code. So it is not important for you to write everything in just one cell. You can write things in different cells so that it is easy for you to manage and it looks beautiful and manageable. Now, if you select any cell and if you want to take it up at the top or bottom, you want to move its location. So I can just click on down arrow by selecting this cell. Correct? After that, if you want to write a text, what you will do now is you will first select this cell. In this cell, I want to write text, not code. So when I select this one, I have an option here. It is written code. So I need to click on here. Instead of code, I need to select a markdown. So markdown is a type of language which is somewhere you will see, which will help you write the text and which will help you put the images in this cell. So if you want to, let's say, write a heading. So for heading, these hash symbols are used. After converting your code into a markdown, you use a hash symbol. And this way you can write the heading like Python programming. This is our heading. If you want to make this heading smaller, you can put multiple hash symbols. 3 hash symbols, it becomes smaller and smaller. 4, it becomes more smaller. 5 becomes more smaller. Maximum 5, it can go. So it is like the headings in HTML, if you have seen somewhere, H1, H2, H3, H4, like that. It is the headings. So if you have one, it is the biggest heading there is. Python programming, I've written. Now you can see I have given a proper title, a heading to the whole notebook. So after this heading, I want to add something. I want to add a text. Python is a flexible and popular programming language. Correct? You are studying about something, you have made a code, you have written a code, which you want to explain properly to someone or to yourself so that you can remember it after some time, after 4 to 5 months. If you look at the code, you don't forget it. So you can properly document it. You can properly write something about this code, or any of the text, any article you want to copy from the internet, from some website, you can copy that text, you can copy that article, any explanatory text, and you can put it here. Correct? Now, I have written this text and I will run it. This is the text I have with my heading. What other things we can do? We can do multiple things. We can have the list items, we can have images, text, URLs. I'm going to show you to you one by one. But now let us talk about that Google Colab we were talking about. Let's see, this is Google Colab. So if anyone is not able to install Anaconda for any reason, you can follow the same thing here in the Google Colab also. It is one of the same environments. So exact same type of file will be created. Either you work on Jupyter Notebook or you work on here. And the extension of those files are going to be IPYNB in Jupyter Notebook also, and here in Google Colab also. So .IPYNB is a short form for this integrated Python notebook. Now, with IPYNB, you can open these files either in Google Colab or you can open that in Jupyter Notebook. So we have seen that. Now let's see how to rename and write the code here. The code we have seen further. So I'll just select that untitled 0, it was written. You can follow, those of you who have opened this Google Colab. So I've written Python basics.ipynb and I just click anywhere outside. Now you can see I have given a different name to this, a new name that I wanted to. So I have done this. Now these are the cells, the same cell I have shown you here. There were multiple cells I have created. Very similar to that, you can have the cells in Colab also. So now what do we write? We need to write first the same thing, the print and hello India. If you want to write, you write. And now if you want to run this cell, you can click on this media button. How do you run anything in here? You click on a cell and you can click on run, or you can press shift plus enter. Shift plus enter button. When you click this shift plus enter together, it will execute a cell. Whatever code is there, it will execute that. It will run that. But again, there is a button here. You select that cell. You can see it is highlighted. You click on run. It will run that code for you. Same here. You can either use shift plus enter, or you can click on this button here on the left side. It will run that thing for you. But you notice here that it is trying to allocate and connect this side on the right side. What it is trying to do, this is one of the packages that is provided to us by Google. So whenever you write a code anywhere, it requires some RAM space and disk space. RAM is our RAM and disk space. Both the things are there in our system. So the code is stored somewhere. That is our disk space. and it takes some processor speed or RAM to run the code, to execute the code. I'll try to explain more that how code actually runs in the background. We'll talk about that properly. But this is what is happening. It will allocate a RAM and disk space from where? From the server of the Google. So if you don't have any powerful laptop, or if you don't have the laptop where you can install something, you can use this software provided by Google to do your task, to write the code. So we have written our code, and it took the RAM and disk space from the Google server, and it has given that, and after that it has run the cell. Now, if you want to write more code, you can click on plus code, and it will open up that area, more cells it will create for you, where you can write more code. If you want to write text, you can click on write plus text, and here you can write your text. Python language. Okay, and here again, you just click on shift plus enter. It is going to execute this. Now, if I want to take it up, I can click on the arrow buttons on this, and it will come at the top. Or if I want to take it at the bottom, it will go at the bottom. Okay, is everyone clear till this now? This was a very basic introduction about these two packages. The first one, Jupyter, and the second one, Google Colab. Any questions till now? I hope all of you are able to understand very properly. Just with a thumbs up, you can let me know whether you have understood or not. Correct? Okay. Okay, great. So these were some basic things. Now we will understand, we'll try to understand some Python related topics. There is more things to understand in here. I will try to explain it little later, but since this is the first day, I want to tell you something about programming language. So more about what you can do with this Jupyter notebook, more about it we will see tomorrow in the tomorrow session once you have installed it, so that you can follow. But now let us talk about the topics of Python. There are many things you can do, but let's start with Python. So you know at least something from today. First thing is, Python is just a programming language. What is a programming language? It is nothing but it is just a way of writing any instruction that will be performed by your system to give you some output. You just give an instruction, and to give that instruction, there are some syntax. There is a proper format written, and that format is followed by everyone. If there is no proper format and structure, then what will happen? Every person will write in their own language, and it will be difficult for other people around the world to read that code. So that is why for every programming language, a proper syntax, a proper format is created, following those rules and regulations, you write the code. And this is same for everyone. So when it is same for everyone, whatever you write could be understood by any person around the world. That is a programming language for you. Correct? So if you have given some instruction to your system, that instruction is not understood by the system directly. Our system does not understand any statement or something like that. They understand binary things, 0, 1. So these packages, the Visual Studio Code or this Jupyter Notebook I'm talking about, what these packages do, in the background, they will convert this text. I have written this text, and this Jupyter Notebook is executing this. Or any code I'm writing, this Jupyter Notebook is executing that using Python programming language. So how these things are being interpreted by or understood by our system is through those, there is something working on the background. And that thing is called compiler or interpreter. Okay, that thing which is converting our code into machine understandable language is called compiler or interpreter. These are both separate things. So some of the programming language use this. Some of the programming languages use this interpreter. Their working is a little bit different, but their task is common. They convert our code into machine understandable language. So C and C++ languages that you see, they use compiler. and Python follows this interpreter. I'll explain you what is the difference between interpreter and compiler, but it is very important to you for you to understand that these things exist. Correct? Now, we'll talk about that after a few minutes. Now let's just get a basic idea about Python, what we can do with Python. Python is one of the very easiest language, you can say, one of the easiest language. There are other easy languages also, like JavaScript, you can say, Go is there. It is also considered to be easy. But Python is considered to be the easiest of all and the most powerful of all. When Python was created first time, it was not that powerful. It was just created for automating the task. Automation, you might have heard, or Python scripting, if you have heard. For that specific purpose, Python was created. But over the years, it was seen that Python was so powerful that it can be modified a little bit. Some things can be added, and it can be used in all the domains of IT. In IT, whatever domains is here, related to software development, in full stack development, web development, application development, anything, Python is going to be used there. Whatever domain you talk about. Yeah, recording will be available, present. Obviously. Okay. But to get the access of this recording, you need to send me your email address. So we'll be admitting you to our LMS. From there, you can get your recordings and this code file also for practice after the session. So send me privately your email, and we'll try to enroll you in our LMS. A message will be sent to you. Correct. So now Python is that programming language. It's very easy, but it is very, very powerful. Now there are some things that you need to write a lot of syntax, small syntax things are there in other programming languages, which you don't need to do in Python. Correct? You don't need to do in Python. Python is free of multiple small syntax things. Now, what is the purpose of Python? Python can be used in all the domains that you talk about, related to machine learning, AI, data science, web development, software development, full stack development, Android, those application development, whatever you know, even Internet of Things are there. At every place, these things are there. Correct? This Python is being used. So whatever big companies you know the name of, the Instagram, the Facebook, they are using Python in some format or the other. So if you know Python, you can do lots of things. Now, let's start with the first basics of Python. Correct? The first basics of Python. Which one is the best Python framework for app development? We'll be talking about that, but for website development, it is Flask and Django that is used for the website development. Okay? Flask and Django are there. But more about it, I'll keep explaining whenever it comes up. Okay. Now, if you understand or if you try to learn about any programming language, there are few fundamental things that is common in all the programming language. These fundamental things are creating a variable, creating some literals, okay, and creating a function. What is a function? Well, I'll understand that. Creating classes. What is a class? We'll understand that. Writing some conditional statement. If this is happening, do this. If another thing is happening, do that. So condition-based things also are done in programming languages, right? So those all things we'll be talking about in proper detail, and we'll see examples of that where you can use it. But this is the first thing we are starting. The first concept in all the programming language, the foundational concept, is called literals and variables. What are literals? Let's understand that now one by one. So literal is a data type which conveys some information. If you're writing numbers, the numbers can be in integer format or it can be in decimal format, which is also called float. So numbers can be in this format. Then you want to write sometimes text. You want to write sometimes statements. Those things are there. After that, there are multiple other advanced type of data in all the programming language. Those advanced data types are different in different programming languages. So we'll talk about what is there in Python. So first, let me give you the fundamental idea about those literals. What are literals? Just a data which tells us something. So that data can be like this. You can have a number in a programming language like this, 10, or you can have 10.5. This is a float data. You can write a text, and text in many programming languages is written inside this double quotes. So you can either use this pair of single quotes, or you can use a pair of double quotes. Anything you can use. Inside this pair of single quotes or double quotes, you write any text, and that is a text data for you. Not just text, you can write the complete statement. Okay, Python is programming language. Correct. This is just a statement or text. Whatever you want to write, you can write that. So it is what? It is a data. Basically, it is a data that you're creating. You want to use that for some purpose in your project or whatever software you are creating. This data. Other data that comes up, which is fundamental, is true or false. These are called Boolean values. Their task is to help us execute some part of code and stop some part of code from execution. That is the work of this true and false values. So once you have understood this data types, the basic data types, which can be like this 10 or 10.5, or a text like this, Python, or true/false values. These are literals. So this type of data you can have. But if you are making any data, you need to store somewhere in the memory. If I don't store it somewhere, what will happen? It will be created for a temporary time. But as soon as you close your system, as soon as you close this Jupyter notebook, what will happen? They will be deleted from the memory. So we need to save them for a permanent time in our memory, in our hard disk space, so that I can use it later also. Whenever I open up this Jupyter notebook, it should be there. So how do we create those things? For that purpose, there is a concept called variable. And this is the most fundamental thing of the programming. What is a variable? Variable can be said to contain a value. But I'll try to explain you in a very normal statement, in a very interesting statement, what you can say. It is like a container in our memory, in our hard disk. There is a container, a box will be created where your data will be stored. So if you're writing 10 here, then also the data is being stored. And when you create a variable, then also a box like will be stored. But what is variable going to do? It will give a name to this box. So I can say it is my number. I can say number is equal to 10. When I write a statement like this, number is equal to 10, it will create a box and it will be written 10. And what it is giving a name to this box, so it can be identified. This box is for this thing. So whenever I want to use this number anytime, I want to add it with something. Let's say I want to add num plus 10. What will happen? You know, it is a variable. It is a text. It is a number. So number and text cannot be added. Obviously, it cannot be added. So now what will happen? You know that inside a number, there is a number stored. There is a 10 integer value stored. So num will go to that particular box, fetch that number, and it will try to do 10 plus 10. And we'll get our answer 20. So this is the concept of variable. In the variable, we create the boxes, we create the containers where our data is stored. And in this data, it is given a name so that it can be identified. Okay, this box is for this name. Using this name, you can access this data. If I don't give a name to this box, what will happen? Can you access it later anytime? No, you will not be able to access this box. It will be created, but it will be deleted because it's for temporary time. So it should have a name. That is the whole concept of variables. So in programming language, anytime, wherever you're doing programming, you need to save those things. So I've just told you that it is a small value that we have stored, but like this, a bigger data you can store. Those bigger data also we'll see, since we are talking about the concept of whole data science and data labs. Let's see how do we create those variables. So to create a variable, the same thing, I need to write num is equal to 10. And I just need to write this. My variable is created. If I anytime want to use this, I will just say num, and it will tell me that inside this variable, a value 10 is stored. If I go here and if I change the number and I run it, what will happen? It is going to update that value. How this updation happens in the background, I'll explain that to you also properly. But understand that this is something we have created. Now, down the line, if I want to use num here, okay, I've written some code, I want to use here now. So I can use it anytime during the code. After 20 lines, 30 lines, 500 lines, 700 lines, I can use that variable, which is storing the value 10. If I don't give the name to 10, I will have to write 10 specifically. It's a small data, so you can say I can write 10, no problem with that. But if it's a bigger data, it will become difficult for you. So we'll talk about that bigger data also after next in tomorrow's session. This is the concept of variables. Now, let's see. So if you have created this variable num is equal to 10, here I'll be explaining two important concepts. This is a cell I have written 10 here. And in the same cell, I write once again a variable and I say 20. So now the value of num will be which one? It is taking to be 20. But now you can say that, okay, in the same cell, you have written the same variable twice. How is this happening? So it's a very important thing. I'm going to explain you concept of interpreter and compiler. See, this thing is going to happen. Why it is happening? It will not work in the other programming languages like C and C++ because they have compiler. Now, what is interpreter and compiler? Interpreter works for converting this code to machine understandable language in Python programming. So what happens in interpreter is that, let's say you have written one line of code, second, third, fourth, fifth, 5 lines of code you have written. So interpreter actually runs the code one by one. Okay, it will run the code one by one. It will execute whatever is there in that code one by one. So if you are making a variable in this first line and you are updating that variable in this third line, so what will happen? That variable is going to have the updated value since it was updated in third line. And interpreted language, you can use the same variable in the same cell multiple times or in the same project. But in compiler, you will not be able to do, it will give you error. So what compiler does is, let's say you have written 20 or 30 lines of code. So that 30 lines of code will be executed directly at once. And you're going to see all the output at once. But in Python, what happens? The execution goes line by line. The first line, second line, third line, fourth line, the execution goes like that. So this is the concept of interpreter and compiler. Compiler, what it will do, it will first say, okay, write all the code you want, and then it will look at the code directly. All the 5 lines, it will see it together, and it will give you the output of these 5 lines together. But Python will show you the output of one line, second line, third line, fourth line separate. It will run one by one. That is the concept of interpreter and compiler. Correct? Now, this is the reason why these two things is working. Now, the second important thing to understand in this variables is how variables are created. Because if I talk about creating a variable in other programming languages like those C or C++, what happened in those things? What happened in those cases? See, you need to write something like this in C or C++. If you want to create integer, you need to mention integer num is equal to 10. Now, if you said that num is a variable that can store integer values only, so it will be only able to store 10. If I write here 10.5, it will give me error. It will say that you have mentioned you want to store integer values in this variable num. So why are you putting up 10.5? That is a float value. It's not allowed. If you want to store a float value, you need to mention float and you need to say 10 is num is equal to 10.5. You need to mention this float. If you want to put up characters, you need to mention character and you say character text is equal to uh, a character like this. These things you need to mention in other programming languages. But in here in Python, you see that nothing like this we are mentioning. I'm just creating variable, giving it a value. So there is a same variable. I can say var. In this, I can store 10 also. I can create a variable var and I can store 10.5 also. And I create a var and I can store Python. All the three things I'll be able to store. And when I run this cell, it won't give me any error. But this thing you can't do in other programming languages. You need to mention int, float, var, those character, those things you need to mention. Then you would have, you would be able to put this data. So let me explain you how is this actually happening. And this is very important again to understand, because if you know about these things, you become a better programmer in general. Because you know programming is done by everyone. Whoever is working in IT industry, everyone does programming. But some of them are brilliant programmers, some of them are average throughout their lives. These are some of the things that separate the programmers. These small intricacies, understanding the background concept of working of the code, this is what makes you better. If you know these things, you can modify your code to make it faster, to make it better, if you know the background things. Let me explain why and how this happens. So I told you that there is a container created whenever you make a variable. And this container will be created in all the programming language. And let's say I store 10. So in other languages, what you need to do is you need to mention that it will be int num. You give the name to the box as int num. But what happens in Python? This is for C or C++, you can say. This is what happens in that. You mention that this box is integer type box and its name is number, the variable, and the data you store should also be integer. You can't store 10.5. It won't allow it because it is specifically mentioned it should be integer. But in Python, what happens is, why it is so flexible, there will be a box created. And once you are saying num is equal to 10, first a box will be created, the data will be stored there, and then this variable will be created, and it will have the address of this box. Okay, it will have the address of this box, this variable. So you see the difference is that in Python, what happens? We don't give directly a name to a box. We say that num is a variable which is going to have this value. Whatever value is there in this box, it is going to be stored in this variable num. That is how Python works. So anytime, okay. So anytime what you want to do is you are saying num is equal to 10. But second time, if you are saying num is equal to 20, what will happen? A separate box will be created in our memory. And here 20 will be stored. Now Python will say, I don't want your address. I don't want this value. I will now refer to the second address, the address of the different box, where my data is, where my new data is. So it simply deletes that address of this location. If it deletes the address of this location, it will never reach this box. And it will now have the address of this. Now let's say this box is now what is happening with this box? This box is not used by any of the variables. So if this box is not used by any of the variable, what will happen? It will be removed from the memory to save space. Correct? Remove from memory. But if this, let's say 10 is used by any other variable, like var. Var is a variable which is still using this. So what can happen? One box can be used by multiple variables. Any number, 10 variables, 20 variables, can use the same box in which some data is put up. So that is why you don't have any limitation. Because in C++, what happens? First, a box is made and it is given a limitation that it can have only integer type of data. But in Python, a box is created, the data is put up, whatever it is a text, value, integer, float, it will be first put up. Then that address will be given to the variable. So that is why we don't have any limitations in Python. That is why you don't need to mention int, num, and those things. That is the whole concept. So what we can do, has everyone understood this concept? Any doubt about this? This is how memory are being identified in Python. Okay, so if any doubt is there, just let me know, or I'll try to give you one more idea like this. Let's say again a box is there and 10 is there. Now I'm creating two variables. Num is equal to 10, var is equal to 10. I'm creating two variables in the same file. So what will happen? Var and num, they both will point to this address. They both will have the address of this box. If I create this new variable, num1, it will also, if I say num1 is equal to 10, this variable will also point to the address of this box. And that is how your memory efficiency will be optimized, because you're not wasting memory by making 3 boxes of 10, which will take 2 extra memories. Just one box is there, the value is there, and they all point to the address of this. If you have the address of this, you will obviously have this value. This is the whole concept, how Python is going to work. That is why we don't need to mention int, float, or all of those things. That should be there. Correct? Okay. So we have understood the creation of variable and how variable work in the previous cases. This is the important thing. So you should know about this for both of the languages. That is there. Now, last thing I'll tell you, and the rest of the thing we'll continue tomorrow. Okay. So now, if you're making a variable, there is a set of rules that you follow. Correct? There is a set of rules. So what are those set of rules? These rules will be followed by other programming languages to create a variable, to name a variable. What are those rules? Let's see one by one. To create a variable, you can use the alphabets, you can use the numbers, and you can use only one symbol, that is underscore. No other symbol. The dollar, at the rate, percentage, any other symbol you cannot use. Just underscore symbol. And you can use alphabets and numbers. The second rule is variable can only start with underscore or an alphabet. You can use alphabet, numbers, and underscore to write a variable name, but it should start with either underscore or an alphabet. It should never start with a number, the variable. A variable name can't be same as a keyword. What is keyword? I'll explain. A variable name can't have spaces between them. Okay. So if you can't have spaces, what we will use? Let's say you are storing someone's first name. So how can you write these things? You write first name. You can write first name is equal to this first name. It's a variable I've created, and this is the value stored in that variable. So this is the first rule, that you can use the alphabets. I can use the number also. I can say first name 10 is equal to this, also fine. Likewise, I can have number 1 is equal to 10. We can say number 2 is equal to 20, and number 3 is equal to 30. I can use this. So 3 variables I've created. And the last thing is, we can use a symbol that is called underscore. Where can we use underscore? We can use the underscore at the start also here. We can use the underscore at the middle also, and use the underscore at the end also. Perfectly fine, no issues, no errors. If something is wrong, what will Python do? It will give us an error. So let's say I start a variable with a number, which is not allowed. I say 9num is equal to 40. What it will do, it will just simply tell you that there is an error. And it will try to tell you what type of error is that properly, that you have followed invalid syntax. And it will tell you where. So after 9, this n where you are starting, there is an error. So you can go to this location wherever it is pointing, and you can properly find out what error you might have done, since it is pointing to the location very properly. So I can go here and I can say, okay, 9 starting with a number, it is not allowed for the naming of the variable. So what I can do, I can write num9 or I can write num_9. This is I can do, will work. I can have the capital values also. ABC is equal to 50. This is also going to work. Correct? But there are some of the keywords. Keywords are some reserved words in all the programming language, and those reserved word has some specific use case. And one of those reserved keyword is called if. The work of if is to make some conditional statements. Whatever we are writing, the code that we are writing, if it is based on some conditions, we can write that using this if keyword. We'll talk about that also properly. But now if I say if is equal to 70, it will give me error, syntax error. But if I say if 1, it will work fine. So there are some of the reserved keywords that has some predefined tasks. They are going to do some predefined tasks. You can't use those keywords as the name of the variable. So like this, if is a reserved keyword, else is a reserved keyword. I'll show you a list of that. This true is a reserved keyword, and there is a global is a reserved keyword. You can't use these names for making a variable. Correct? So this was our last state. Now what we can do, let's say if I have to write these two words, I can't write first name is equal to I can't do this. But you say that, okay, these two words are separate. I want to separate them somehow. What you can do, the allowed things are you can use an underscore in between. That is what is allowed. In all the programming languages, you follow the same thing. If you do this, will work fine. Or the second way to do the same thing is something called as camel casing. You say that the first character of the second word, my second word is name. The first word is first, second word is name, and its first character is N. So N, you will say it should be capital. You can put it capital, and this is also going to work. This is also allowed in all the programming languages. This will be followed by the developers in all the programming languages. This is called camel casing. The first word will all be smaller, but the first character of the second word is going to be capital. And third word, if you have first name and name, the third word, also the first character will be capital. So any words are there, 4 or 5 words are there after the first word, their first character is going to be capital. This is called camel casing. So we have understood about the variable naming and their rules. They can contain alphabets, number, and underscore. They can't start with number. They can only start with underscore and alphabet. We can't use keywords as the name of variable. They can't have spaces. So you can use either underscore or the camel casing. These are all. And the last, the obvious thing to understand is wherever you are using variable, don't use any illogical name. Use a logical name that can tell what are you trying to store. So if you are storing someone's first name, write a variable first name properly. Don't write F. Don't write these things. These are very bad programming practices.